It's now time for the Final Four, and Texas Tech has made history in this tournament. Will they get to cut down the nets on Monday? The other semifinal game is Virginia versus Auburn. The winner of that game will face the winner between Texas Tech and Michigan State. The NBA regular season is nearing an end. Who will win the MVP award? And what is in store next for Texas Tech baseball? Find out next. MCTV Sports 101 starts now. Hey there, sports fans, and welcome to MCTV Sports 101. I'm Ryan Heller.
And I'm Brogan Stewart. The Red Raider basketball team has made history this season, making it to their first ever appearance in the Final Four. They'll face the Michigan State Spartans on Saturday. Ryan, what do they need to do to beat the Spartans and get to that championship?
Well, it's one of a few things. First off, Texas Tech needs to stay true to their identity, which is defense. That is something that Chris Beard has instilled in each and every single one of his teams since he first got here from Arkansas Little Rock, which is play stout defense, because he believes that the defense wins championships, and honestly, he is right. I know a lot of people don't think that because this day and age, people love offense, but defense, you've got to be stout on defense, and that's what they've been doing all year, all tournament. They are top 5 in pretty much every defensive category that there is right now, both regular season and postseason, and then of course, what helps is those guys like those big men like Norris Odiase, Tariq Owens, who by the way is averaging almost 3 blocks a game, and what's great is that they play stout defense both with the zone and also the man-to-man, specifically into the post. If you try to get into the post, they suffocate you. Teams try to drive into the lane on them, thinking that they got an open lane to the basket. That's exactly what they want you to think. Then they crowd you, and the next thing you know, you got to kick it out, and then it just wastes more time on their game clock. But also, Jarrett Culver's got to be Jarrett Culver as well, because he's supposed to be projected a top 10 pick in the draft if he chooses to leave, which he probably will. He's got to play like that. He's averaging 19 points a game. He's averaging almost 3 steals a game, which is part of that defense as well. And also, Coach Beard said on SportsCenter himself, he said, we're not going to out-tough Michigan State. No one's going to out-tough a team coached by Tom Izzo, but you got to try to match their toughness, match that aggressiveness on both offense and defense, and that's what they got to do in order to succeed and be able to get to the championship. Yeah,
and going back to that defense, you go back throughout the tournament, and you were talking about how defense wins championships. Yeah. I think a prime example is that Buffalo game.
Exactly.
You go in there, Buffalo thinks they have a high-powered offense, and
they do though.
And they do, but they go into that game, and Tech's defense really shuts it down. And you see how offense, if you rely so much on like a 3-ball or just offense and not playing defense, it's going to be hard.
Exactly.
And, even against Michigan State, neither team hit a bunch of shots, but that defense allowed Texas Tech to pull away. And going into this game with Michigan State, you're going up against a team that doesn't have as high-powered as Gonzaga. So being able to keep that same defensive intensity will be a big factor for the Red Raiders this week.
Absolutely, and also not just Culver, but also the role players around him. Davide Moretti, who started off cold from the 3-point shot against Northern Kentucky and Buffalo, but he's gotten better since then. He's been getting more relaxed. And Matt Mooney, throughout the season, has been getting better with his courtside vision, with just being a better floor general, knowing when to pass, knowing when to drive to the lane, knowing when to shoot the threes. That's going to be key as well. And hopefully we get to watch more basketball with Texas Tech on Monday.
Yeah, and I think another thing is being aggressive on the floor. Don't settle for 3-point shots.
Absolutely.
Get to those free throws at opportunities.
Especially when you're in the bonus.
Yeah, and Michigan State, they play 7 players, and against Duke, that 7th player only had 3 minutes.
Exactly.
So getting to that foul trouble, hopefully getting Michigan into foul trouble will be another big thing for Tech, because that will open up the floor a little bit, make those drives a little bit easier because they don't want to foul.
Exactly. On the other side of the Final Four bracket is the 1-seed Virginia Cavaliers versus the 5-seed Auburn Tigers. Brogan, how do you see this game going down?
Well, first of all, I haven't seen anything out of Virginia that I've been super impressed with up in the tournament. They have played multiple teams closer than they should have. Going back to last year, they lost to a 16 seed. Coming back this year as a number 1 seed, they narrowly escaped a 16 seed again. And it's just been 2-point games. And I know it's March Madness. I know this is tournament time.
It's one and done. Anything can happen.
But, man, I think a lot of what Virginia's putting out there I think they should have been beat a couple rounds ago, and I think going up against these Auburn Tigers, who have, for lack of better terms, have been phenomenal throughout this tournament.
I mean, they blew out Kansas, for God's sakes.
They did. And Virginia has a great defense as well. Let's not forget that. But this Auburn team has a good defense and a really explosive offense. And I think it's going to be hard, and if the Cavaliers can't get shots to fall, they may get knocked out.
Well, I think that I kind of see it going both ways. I feel like if Auburn now, like I know that they're playing with emotions with their guy Chuma Akiki being out, who led them in rebounds and steals as well. So like that's going to be tough. But I feel like that they can still survive because they still got Bryce Brown averaging 16 points a game. They still got Samir Dowdy, who's second in steals with 1.4 steals a game. But honestly, I feel like if Virginia, I mean, if Tech's fortunate enough to win, I don't care who we face because we should be able to beat them anyway. But I would feel so happy for Virginia knowing what happened to them last year. For a whole year, they were basically the laughing stock of college basketball. And then, so for what happened to them last year, for them to be able to make it to the Final Four and get the championship, it would almost be kind of like a redemption for them, which I would be happy for them. But I just think Auburn, they're striking now while the iron is hot. They just got so much momentum. They came in as what, a 5 seed in the SEC conference tournament and won, and they've just gone on this tear. And I mean, me personally, I didn't see it coming. I thought that they were going to lose to New Mexico State. I thought they eked that one out. I thought they got lucky. But hey, you know what? Better to be lucky than good sometimes. But
I mean, and what you're talking about is Auburn is that March Madness story. It's a team that maybe didn't have a great regular season or a regular season that they wanted, get that conference tournament and go through it, win the whole thing, and they set out on a tear through the NCAA tournament.
They really have.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's going to be a big thing for them. That emotion is very high. They've made it to the Final Four. And going up against the Virginia team, Auburn's playing with house money, and they've played with house money for a while.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
They have nothing out there. All the pressure's on Virginia because Virginia is supposed to win this game.
Absolutely.
And, Auburn is averaging 80 points a game where Virginia is right over 71. So, I mean, that's going to be another thing. Can Virginia's defense keep them down enough to ensure that they can pull out a win? And both teams are going to be good.
Oh,
I think it'll be a great game, all of these Final Fours, but I don't know how it'll shape up.
We will see for sure.
So Texas Tech baseball has come back after tying a series on the road with New Mexico. Ryan, what do you think the team needs to do to get a series win over Kansas?
Well, first off, it's what I said a couple weeks ago. They got to get the bat to the ball. The offense has kind of been stagnant, other than a couple series. Like against Kentucky, they really, gave it to them on the chin. Wichita State as well. But, I mean, now I think finally them playing a conference series at home will help because they were on the road against Texas, on the road against Kansas State, which will help the home field. But mostly it's just like the offense. You look at what they did last year, they averaged, 10, 11 runs a game. This year, not so much. And also what they need to do is they need to be more consistent with their pitching. Now, I know it's not their fault. They got a lot of inexperienced pitchers, mostly freshmen and sophomores. I love, the pitchers like Micah Dallas, and Mason Montgomery. I think they got a bright future, but the inexperience shows, and you saw that when a lot of our junior and senior pitchers went into the draft last year. But I think that's really the key. They've got to be more consistent with the pitching, and they've got to get the bat to the ball.
Well, and I think the offensive struggles will be definitely helped out by coming home. Dan Law Field is a very hitter-friendly park.
It is.
Which is both a blessing and a curse at the same time if your pitching's not great. Kansas has had a lot of trouble hitting the ball as well. They're 1-5 in the conference. And they came alive Sunday, which was their first win. But I think Tech coming home, getting in a familiar park, in a hitter-friendly park. I mean, you've had Cam Warren, you've had bright spots. Cam Warren,
Josh Young,
Dylan Noisy. Well, Josh Young has had a little bit of a slump, so you're hoping he can break out of that here pretty quick.
Absolutely.
And a slump for him is great for any other player.
Right. He's still recovering from that. From what was it? That quad injury a little bit. So.
Yeah, quad injury. And then you're pitching. You got a lot of freshman pitchers, and you have pitchers like Micah Dallas. But I think we've been spoiled the last couple of years with Stephen Gingrey, who came out his freshman year.
Davis
Martin. We're used to having stars come in as freshmen, and that's just not the case. And I think you have a lot of young guys on this team. And I think if you'll stick with them, they will turn a corner. And then you've seen it a lot. Dylan Noisey's one, I think, of who's been amazing right now.
He's sensational. He really is. I love him.
Yeah, he's not what like maybe Josh or Gabriel Holt was during their freshman year. No. But he is a freshman in and of itself that is doing really well. I think Micah Dallas, who has been starting on your Friday role, and I imagine would start this Friday.
Right.
He has been sensational as well. He's got some nasty stuff and good velocity to go with it. And he knows it. When he's out there, you can see it. He's
got that eye of the tiger.
And he's like, I'm the best player on this field, and you ain't going to hit anything I throw. And I think if you'll stick with them, they may not get to where they want to be this year. No. And they may get back to Omaha, which is what their expectations are.
Of course.
But you got to stick with it. You got a lot of freshmen, a lot of talented freshmen. And
I mean, like there's definitely a very bright future ahead for them, for sure.
I mean, and Tim Tadlock, he's a great recruiter, and he's going to get these kids.
Well, of course. I mean, like you look at where this program was before him, and it's a night and day difference.
But I think the big thing, you shouldn't be worried about the series, losing a series. You should be well on your way to winning a series on Saturday. I think Tech needs to get a sweep here, get back in that Big 12 race.
Absolutely.
Because, losing that one to Texas, it's a hard thing. And you want to win your home series because, you have 4 of your first 3 Big 12 series are on the road. One of those being K-State and one being West Virginia. But you've got the upper people of the Big 12 coming into your place. You've got to make sure you protect.
You've got to take advantage of that opportunity.
And, the last 3 of your 4 series are at home, and you've got Baylor and TCU as 2 of those.
There you go.
Both of those are going to be phenomenal teams coming in. You got to be prepared. So I think you really, really need a sweep this week.
Absolutely, for sure. With the regular season soon coming to an end, many people are having a tough time deciding who should win the NBA MVP between the Rockets' James Harden and the Bucks' Giannis Antetokounmpo. Brogan, who do you feel is this year's NBA MVP?
I know Harden has done some things we've never seen before. The 50-point games, taking his team from nearly one of the last seeds in the Eastern Conference.
Western Conference.
Excuse me.
Bucks are in the East.
And bringing them back into the playoff race. But I got to go Giannis.
Really?
He's been one of the best two-way players. Harden has built up his defense this year. I don't think it holds anything to Giannis.
No, of course.
The shot blocking, the defensive ability, but also the shot he has on the other side. He can do just about anything on the floor he needs to do to get a team to win. And his team has done so much better throughout the whole season, even with injuries. And that factors into the MVP race. How is the team in general doing?
Well, it's actually interesting that you mentioned that because how is the team doing? When you look at during Harden's 32-game stretch, which, by the way, no one wants to give him credit for, which I don't understand why, because it's something that hasn't been done since Wilt Chamberlain. During that stretch, for the majority of the time, his second, third, and fourth best players were out, and that's Clint Capella, who was out for 4 to 6 weeks. Chris Paul was out for a month with a hamstring. Eric Gordon was out for a couple of weeks with a hamstring as well. And everybody wants to say Steph Curry should be the MVP. Everybody says that Giannis Antetokounmpo should be the best. Should be the MVP. Take away their second, third, and fourth best player. So, people want to pick Steph Curry. Take away Durant, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson all at the same time. See how well he does. Giannis. Okay, well then take away Chris Middleton, Malcolm Brogdon, and Eric Bledsoe all at the same time, pretty much. See how well he does. And James Harden. That's the thing. When that happened, they were about 10th seed. He carried them to the 5th seed. And now, of course, now that they're fully healthy, now they're in the 3rd seed, of course. But see, I feel like James Harden took that challenge, and instead of them saying, you know what, okay, fine, we're just going to tank, wait till next year, get a lottery pick, then get back to the conference finals the next year. No, he said, you know what, the heck with that. I'm going to put this team on my back. We're going to get to the playoffs this year, and his season's just been too phenomenal. Of course, it's not the Westbrook triple-double season, but it's pretty darn close, and he needs to be rewarded for this sort of season.
And my thing with Giannis is, even though they didn't have that struggle, he has been one of the best players all over the floor. And you mentioned Steph. I don't think this race has anything to do with. I think it's them two. It'll be one Harden or Giannis, I don't think there's really anyone that can show up.
I think it's been between those two, I think, for about like the last month or so.
And you look at the voters and that vote on these, who publish what they're thinking. All the voters are like, 1 week I'm Harden, 1 week I'm Giannis. And I think it's just going to come down to when those votes have to be sent in. I know it's regular season MVP. I think it's going to come down to which team does the best in the playoffs that is coming up. If one team gets knocked out really early, I think the other player will get it. It'll be interesting to see it come down. My pick is just Giannis. I'm happy for either one, but I have no idea.
Well, we're going to find out in about a month, so we'll see.
Now it's time for Who You Got, Baseball Edition. Let's start off with the Minnesota Twins versus the Philadelphia Phillies. Ryan, who you got?
You know what? I'm going to go with the the Phillies. I know that Jake Odorizzi's pitching. He's got a 1.5 ERA. And I know they're both top 10 in batting average, both top 10 in on-base percentage. But when you look at the Phillies, they are sixth in runs total, sixth in home runs with only 10. I know it's early, but still 10 home runs, and also they're second in slugging percentage with a 527. And their offense is very powerful, and of course now they got Bryce Harper. I don't know. I think the Phillies take this one.
I agree. Yeah. No, I definitely think the Phillies. They've been very high powered, and I think they're going to take this series versus the Brewers, who have been playing really well. But
yeah. Chicago Cubs versus the Milwaukee Brewers. Brogan, who you got?
I got to go with the Brewers. I know the Cubs have been phenomenal. Last year they, went pretty deep in the playoffs, but they have not put it together this year. The Brewers, who are in the top of their division, I think they will take this weekend.
I absolutely agree. The Cubs are nowhere where they were in their World Series win in 2016. I'm going to go with the Brewers as well. Yes, I know the Cubs are first in batting average and on-base percentage. And yes, again, it is early. This is basically the first week of the season. But Brandon Woodruff is pitching. He's got a 3.6 ERA, which is pretty good, which is very decent. And also the top 10 in home runs, top 10 in runs. And I think the Brewers are kind of getting that kind of postseason spark that they had last year. And I think with the way they're going, a couple good trades in the future, I think they can go far and certainly win this series.
All right. Well, Texas Rangers versus the LA Angels. Ryan, who you got?
As an Astros fan, it pains me to say this, but I got the Rangers. I do. I got the Rangers. They just got a great defense. They're sixth in runs, sixth in slugging, and the best part about their defense is their outfield. They got a very quick, athletic outfield, and Joey Gallo, Delano DeShields, Nomar Mazara, Hunter Pence, also who they added as well. And the Astros and the Angels are two teams I know firsthand how great of a defense they got, and I think it's going to be too much for the Angels.
Well, the Angels the last couple of years have been not great. They're bottom in the league or in their division. I got to go with the Rangers as well. A couple of the big pickups. And like Hunter Pence and stuff has really worked out so far. Coming off of that victory series win against the Astros, I think they'll keep it going in Anaheim this week.
The Houston Astros and the Oakland A's. Brogan, who you got?
Now, you talked about Rangers being a tough pick. I've got to go the Astros here. They have not looked great. But they've got too much talent for what they're putting out there.
Absolutely.
They haven't had a ton of offense, but this is also their first series at home since starting the regular season. I've got to bet that they're going to get it together. They've got too many good bats on that team to only score 2 to 4 runs a game in the first half of the game and then be done the rest.
It is just shocking to me that actually until about like an hour ago, I didn't even notice that they haven't been at home this whole time. As a homer, I definitely got to go with the Astros as well. I think that, they're slumping, but you know what? The season is too early for people to think that the Astros are just going to, go back to their ways back in 06, 07, 08, back and all that. You got Bregman, you got the former MVP in Altuve, you got great pitchers in Garrett Cole, Verlander.
Verlander has been struggling, which
he has been. But the good thing is he gets better throughout the season as the season progresses, so that's good. Plus also AJ Hinch, he is probably one of the best managers in the entire American League. I mean, like I can't count him out, and I think the Astros are going to pick it up at some point. I think they're going to win this series.
But like you said, it's too early to start talking World Series and playoff
Way
time.
too early.
Anyways, well, that's our show for this week's edition of MCTV Sports 101. Join us next week for the latest big name stories in sports. I'm Brogan Stewart.
And I'm Ryan Heller. Till next time. Wow, that was bad.